Investments in Kerala come with an appendage. They are often launched on battlefields with violent protests, hartals, stone throwing, and sometimes even attacking a police station. I'm standing on such an investment location, Vizhinjam, which was a battleground this week when angry fishermen went berserk. The project in question is what would be India's first mega container transhipment terminal, undertaken by Adani Ports and supported by the central government and the Kerala government. The protests have been suspended for now. Hundreds of local residents, mostly fishermen, feel their very livelihoods have been disrupted. Many of them have been rehabilitated temporarily in cement warehouses for years now. They feel they've been caught between Adani, Pinarayi, and the deep sea. Let's get one thing clear at the beginning. This video is not to belittle businessman Gautam Adani or politician Pinarayi Vijayam. In fact, as we inch to the end of 2022, Gautam Adani is the third richest person on earth. No small feat. This is how the list of real-time billionaires by Forbes showed the net worth of the top three on December 8. Elon Musk, $185.4 billion. Bernard Arnault and family, $184.7 billion. And Gautam Adani, $135.2 billion. And Pinarayi Vijayam is the first Kerala Chief Minister to get re-elected after a full 5-year term. No mean feat in a state like Kerala, which is essentially a gathering of 35 million skeptics. This video is about the Vizhinjam port project in the south of Kerala, which is becoming yet another example of gigantic projects in our country being established with little sympathy, forget any empathy, for the people displaced by the project. In this case, some 300 plus fishermen families who have been enduring sheer hell for some years now. If you haven't heard of the Vizhinjam port project yet, it's high time you do. After all, this is India's most prestigious ongoing port project. So learn how to pronounce Vizhinjam before the port is done. Roll your tongue over and get it right, like Kozhikode and Alappuzha. So not Vizhinjam, but Vizhinjam. But don't worry, you'll get enough time to practice how to say Vizhinjam, given Kerala's lag in implementing projects. In 1906, the Malayalam Manorama newspaper had reported that the Vizhinjam project should not be delayed any further. We are 116 years from then. Fast forward to the 21st century, and the latest Vizhinjam port project was launched in December 2015, which makes it exactly 7 years since launch this month. And we are still unsure of the completion date. In brief, the Vizhinjam port is a container transhipment terminal, meaning it is not a gateway port. Gateway ports take cargo from the hinterland and do the traditional import-export business. In the transshipment business, massive motherships come with cargo to the transshipment terminal, and then the daughter vessels or feeder vessels redistribute the cargo to various regional destinations. The Vizhinjam port project involves an investment of roughly 75 billion rupees, but more than the investment, it is a critical piece of transportation infrastructure for India. Why? Well, India has the embarrassment of not having a world-class deep port or transshipment port. So a lot of our transshipment happens through the ports of Colombo, Singapore, Dubai and Salalah. Getting our cargo through feeder vessels from other ports jacks up our manufacturing and shipping costs and makes us less competitive. Therefore, getting our cargo directly through Vizhinjam is a clear advantage. Besides that, Vizhinjam has two phenomenal advantages. One, it is bang on the international sea route, and two, it has a natural draft or depth of 20 meters, which gives tremendous cost saving to the port builder who can save on the dredging expense. I asked Jose Paul, former acting chairman of the Jawaharlal Nehru Port in Mumbai, and the first Indian to take a doctorate in port management from the University of Cardiff in Wales, whether Vizhinjam was a safe bet, given that the transshipment terminal at Vallarpadam near Kochi, just a few nautical miles away from Vizhinjam, has not quite lived up to its promise. Paul says comparing Vallarpadam and Vizhinjam is like comparing apples and oranges because Vallarpadam has a much lower draft or depth and it is farther away from the international sea route compared to Vizhinjam. Paul says our policy makers and planners have got it right this time by backing Vizhinjam.
Our policy planners and thinkers have correctly measured the situation and they have come to the conclusion that it is necessary for the future of India, if it has to remain as a important and stable country in maritime transport, then it has to develop a port where A, dredging is hardly anything. 2, proximity to the international shipping route is something which will stand ahead of any other reason for developing a port as a transhipment.
Besides its natural depth and location on the international sea route, Vizhinjam has a third crucial advantage. Any transhipment operator runs a huge risk, which is that shipping lines may decide not to call it that port at all. But in this case, the Adani Group is an experienced port operator, and Gautam Adani has deep pockets, so his company can offer attractive rates to shipping lines and stay the course, which gives a clear advantage to the Vizhinjam port project. So why all the hullabaloo about the Vizhinjam project? Protests, police station attack, 3,000 arrests and so on. Some 300 plus families who have lost their homes, and they all believe that it is a port project that caused the sea erosion that took their houses, have been housed in appalling conditions. Some of them in an old cement warehouse and the others in some school buildings. This is how the inside of the warehouse looks like, with the entire families packed into 10 by 10 cubicles, with parents, married children and grandchildren living in the same cubicle. Toilets, don't even ask. There are a few for a few hundred people. I met a 24-year-old who was 7 months pregnant when she had to move into the warehouse. Now her son is a year and 3 months old. Almost all of them have the same reasonable demand. For heaven's sake, give us houses for the residences that we lost.
മക്കളെല്ലാം ഉണ്ട്. ഈ 10-10 ഒരു റൂം തന്ന് ഡ്രസ്സ് മാറാൻ പിള്ളേർക്ക് വശയില്ല. പഠിക്കേണ്ട മക്കളാണ്, പഠിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി വശയില്ല.
സ്കൂളിൽ പോകുന്നവരൊക്കെ ഇവിടുന്ന് പോവോ?
ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് തന്നെ സ്കൂളിൽ പോകണം. പക്ഷെ ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊന്നും തരണ്ട, ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കയറി കിടക്കേണ്ട ഒരു ഭവനം മാത്രം ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് തന്നാൽ മാത്രം മതി.
Is it too much for people affected by a project to ask for the very basic compensation? Somehow we never seem to get that right. And Vizhinjam is but the latest example. Some people say that the protesters chose the wrong time. These fishermen were protesting at a time when the port project is nearing completion. But pray, what is a good time that they should protest? Some of the families here have been living in these sheds for 5 years. All power to the Vizhinjam project, which will add economic muscle to the country. But let's not forget those hapless people whose very livelihoods have been affected. What's the point gloating over trophies like massive infrastructure projects and multi-trillion-dollar economies when they come at the cost of the poorest of the poor? Certainly, social conditions have an important bearing on the future scenarios of nations. This episode of Geometric View is dedicated to a kindergarten student in Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, Dikshit K. Nambudiri, who was devastated to see a papaya plant at his home chopped down by his mom and cried his heart out. His father K. Unnikrishnan is the vice principal of the government Sanskrit college, and his mother C.N. Vijaykumari is also a Sanskrit professor, and the family speaks Sanskrit at home. In the video, the boy is seen speaking in Sanskrit with his grandmother Leela Devi, asking her, "This tree gives us a very life breath. Why did mom cut it down?" One doesn't need to know Sanskrit to understand the full emotion of the nature-loving boy. Warning, it's a heart-wrenching video.
ഏകദേശം മനുഷ്യജന്മം പ്രാപ്യത നെക്സ്റ്റ് ജന്മം വെച്ചിട്ട് മനുഷ്യജന്മം.
His father Unnikrishnan told me that the papaya plant was chopped down because it was male and was not bearing fruit. But that is no consolation for the young Dikshit. Much like the fisherfolk in Vizhinjam are left unimpressed by a gigantic mega transhipment container terminal and instead wonder why their homes are being lost to sea erosion.